Morning, everyone. It is 8:30, and I want to welcome everyone to the 2021 meeting for the CVTA. Mr. Parsons, do we have any new persons at all? I don't think they can hear me. Yes, they could.
No, sir. We don't have any new members
Okay.
appointed for this year.
Okay. Okay.
But I believe we may still be waiting for a quorum if Nicole can confirm that.
All right. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if we just want to wait maybe a couple more minutes to see who else is going to join us this morning.
Okay, all right. Are we ready?
Mr. Chair, I believe you can go ahead and start the meeting.
Okay, Ms. Miller, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 civic year. And I think I could say Happy New Year to everyone. Okay, so welcome to this meeting of the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. At this time, we would like for you, if you care to stand, you may. We're going to go for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will lead us through that. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag,
Of the
United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God,
liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all. I don't think we have to read the statement about the virtual meeting that's on page 1 for those. So at this time, Madam Clerk, we'll have roll call and certification of a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Let's start
Morning.
with Town of Ashland, Mr. Hodges.
John Hodges here.
Charles City County, Mr. Coda. Chesterfield County, Vice Chair Carroll.
I am here.
Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour.
Here.
Hanover County, Mr. Peterson.
There we go. Here.
I thought I saw you this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Henrico County, Chair Thornton.
Here.
New Kent County, Ms. Page. Powhatan County, Mr. Williams.
Here.
City of Richmond, Dr. Newbill.
Here.
Virginia House of Delegates, Delegate McQuinn.
Here.
Senate of Virginia, Senator McClellan.
Here.
Commonwealth Transportation Board, Mr. Brown. I think Mr. Brown is here. I'll circle back. DRPT, Ms. Mitchell.
Here.
VDOT, Commissioner Britch.
Laura Farmer on behalf of Commissioner Britch.
Thank you. GRTC Transit System, Ms. Tim.
Here.
And RMTA, Ms. Dean.
Good morning. Here.
Good morning. And let's see, is Mr. Brown in attendance this morning? That concludes the roll call, and I can certify that we have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Mueller. Okay, we now go to A1, Mr. Parson. And others, consideration, are there any amendments to the action meeting agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. A small amendment, but we would like to add an update on the regional transit plan to the TAC report, which will be under item 7, B7.
Okay. All right. All right. We go down to A2, and this is, we're asking for approval of the December the 4th, 2020 CVTA meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, move for approval. David Williams, Powhatan.
Mr. Chairman, I second Patricia Page New Camp.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Okay, are there any questions? Madam Clerk, do we have to have a roll call for this, or this by acclamation?
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and take a roll call if I may.
Okay, let's take a roll call for this.
Thank you. Town of Ashland, Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Vice Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Hanover County, Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Henrico County, Chair Thornton.
Aye.
New Kent County, Ms. Page. I think she has technical difficulties. Ms. Page, can you hear me?
Aye.
Thank you. Powhatan County, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Dr. Newbill.
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn.
Aye.
Senator McClellan.
Aye.
And CTB, Mr. Brown. I can see Mr. Brown. I cannot hear him. He might have technical difficulties as well. This concludes the roll call for item A2, approval of the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, we have open public comment period.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We did receive a comment that was distributed to authority members yesterday from Mr. Reevely, and I believe Mr. Reevely is with us. If you would like, he can share his comment himself.
Mr. Parsons, would you be so kind to speak a little louder, please?
Yes, sir. We have public comment we received yesterday that was distributed to all the members of the authority from Mr. Reevely. He is with us as well this morning, so he can read and share his comments himself, if that's okay with the chair.
Okay. All right.
Good morning, CVTA members. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Nelson Reevely. I'm a resident of Henrico County and the Director of Operations for RVA Rapid Transit. As many of you all know, RVA Rapid Transit is an organization dedicated to education and advocacy for regional public transit system and the ways that robust transit helps folks lead healthier, more productive, and more interconnected lives. And I want to share again our thanks for the diligent work of the CVTA and its creation, as well as for the powerful momentum it provides towards regional public transportation, as laid out in Plan RVA's Greater RVA Transit Vision Plan. I also want to highlight how crucial it is for all of us to press forward that momentum by charting and mapping out the annual steps necessary to reach a truly regional comprehensive public transit network. Based on the budget projections in the Greater RVA Transit Vision Plan, we know that it's going to take steady annual growth in GRTC's operating budget to reach the full vision. And the 15% of the CVTA funds allocated to regional public transportation is an immense critical first step. It's a powerful base from which to build, but we need to ensure that we don't lose sight of the full vision for the regional system. And we need to ensure that we together, the CVTA, the localities, GRTC, residents throughout our region, lay out and lean into the specific annual steps needed to make it all the way across the finish line to frequent, far-reaching regional public transit, to a system, a full system that will allow us to make our region an even more inclusive and prosperous place to live, work, play, and visit. And we deeply encourage and support everybody's work towards this end. And we again thank you all so greatly and sincerely for your work and your service. Many blessings on you all, and grace and peace.
Thank you very kind, Ms. Reevely, for your comments. Are there others?
Mr. Chair, we don't have other public comments received.
Okay, thank you so very much. At this time, the chair would take the privilege, instead of giving a report, I'm going to take a few moments to mention something that is very important for this august organization. First of all, I want to just thank all of the persons who make this new piece of action possible. And particularly some of the people we don't see, like our staff persons, those who are behind the desks and the doors that we don't see. Thank you so very much. Also, for the elected officials, thank you so very much. You are part of a legacy we are creating. Persons on the level of the General Assembly and from the Senate, we thank you so very much. All the persons, this is what I want to say is a merci moment, a thank you moment. And what I like to say is this, with the Central Virginia Transportation Authority, we are putting in place a legacy. And what we want to do is make sure that we behave like masons doing the rough stone. There will be some tough issues from time to time, as we have covered a few of those, but we have always done it and will continue to do it in a collegial way. So using a metaphor, I would hope that, and I'd like to challenge all of the persons who are members of the CVTA to let us work very hard to be as tough as the Gothic cathedrals. They were built eons ago. Now, we don't know everyone who built those. We don't know who the respective and individual masons were, but they were there. And those are still standing. So we want to do something similar for the CVTA. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, we will come across some tough issues from time to time, but we can do that because it's not about us as it is about making sure that we put and have the best foundation for all of our citizens in this particular district. And I know that I can challenge all of us for that. And so as far as the tough issues are concerned, I referred to a pastor who had a book some years ago, and the title of his book was Tough Times Never Last, But Tough People Do. So Central Virginia Transportation Authority, we will be tough because there will be tough issues, and we are a tough group there. And finally, I did make a comment that we did not know who some of those masons were who built the great Gothic cathedrals. Well, we don't. But what we do know is that the masonry will always outlast the mason. And so looking at that, I challenge all of us to let's make sure that we make this CVTA one of the best ones. And let's make it a legacy CVTA. So that people after we are gone and forgotten, that they are saying, those people put a good transportation system in place. Those are some of the thoughts of the chair at this time. So at this time, we'll go now to the staff report, Mr. Parsons.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to share a different screen. There we go. Can everybody see that?
No, not yet, Chet. There we
How
go.
about that?
It's up
Okay.
now.
So in the fall, staff put together this presentation for, I believe it was the Technical Advisory Committee, to just give everyone and the Finance Committee as well, an understanding of some of the ways that different processes could flow with the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. And it was asked that we make this presentation also to the authority so that everyone has an understanding of the makeup of the
Excuse me,
authority.
Mr. Chairman. If I could interrupt, I'm not seeing anything coming up other than the agenda screen. Is everybody else getting something?
I can see.
Yes, I can see the
Okay,
view.
must be my problem then. Thank you.
I can see it as well.
Okay, Mr. Peterson, we can certainly share these slides after the fact too. They are relatively self-explanatory. But we wanted to give an idea, not just for the authority, but for the public as well, about the different groups that make up the authority and how some issues may make their way through consideration in different aspects of the work that the Central Virginia Transportation Authority does. So there's the authority itself, which is the board. That's who we are meeting today. There are two official committees: the Technical Advisory Committee, which is made up primarily of staff of the membership, and they're tasked with considering planning and engineering tasks. There's the Finance Committee, which is a subcommittee of you all, of the CVTA members, authority members itself, and tasked with the financial recommendations to the full body. There is also a finance working group, which is basically technical assistance to the Finance Committee, and it's made up of finance directors and other leaders from member agencies and organizations that provide advice to the Finance Committee. And then finally, we have a loose group of legal counsel from member agencies and jurisdictions that provide advice to the CVTA and its subcommittees as needed. Obviously, with this inaugural year, that advice is more prescient than in others. So what we want to do on the next few slides is talk through different types of considerations that the authority might consider. The first is financial tasks, things like the budget considerations, contracts with consultants, different expenditures, auditing activities. Eventually, we're going to probably be looking at bonding projects. So there's something that initiates that, and that's what we call the driver. And if moving from left to right, that will go to probably a financial working group with advice from legal counsel as needed. It would make its way to the Finance Committee, and then a recommendation from the Finance Committee would go to you, the full authority, for action. Technical tasks are a little different, and those would be things like approving long-range plans, what the spending plans might be for different projects, looking at the priorities of the authority and what projects would rank high as the project priorities for the authority. Reporting on project progress, and then other types of studies that might take place. So again, it would start with whatever the initiator, the driver is. Here, maybe a good example would be a transit governance report. The driver there is the enabling legislation, the code. So that would go to the Technical Advisory Committee with input from the Finance Committee as needed. And then the TAC would make a recommendation to the CVTA. A third general type of action is a legal task. That would probably go directly to the subset of legal counsel and advice from member jurisdictions. And then a recommendation will be made to you, the authority. A couple examples that we wanted to provide to show kind of a real world application. So this is an example of an interchange modification report. That might be something that the authority would take up in coming years as a technical study. So the authority would initiate the study. it would delegate the work of considering the report to the Technical Advisory Committee. The TAC could develop a scope of work, solicit fee proposals, making recommendations back to the authority. We would think the Finance Committee would weigh in as well, providing recommendations on impacts to the budget and possibly regional funds. And then finally, the authority itself would consider the recommendations of the TAC based on the scope and fee and make a decision. Another example might be the regional 6-year plan, and this would follow a modified financial process flow. So it would begin by the authority requesting the TAC to begin the process. The TAC would develop a 6-year plan, basically a spending plan for funding for project-related activities for the next 6 years, and forward that to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee can make recommendations to the authority for possibly a bonding program, including use of existing locality financial management services. There would be feedback, input to the Finance Committee based from the working group, determining the need to issue bonds to finance regional projects and making a recommendation. And then the authority itself would authorize the Finance Committee to proceed with the bond process and recommendations. At that juncture, staff would be involved managing public review, forwarding project-specific comments to the TAC, compiling comments into a report for the authority. The Finance Working Group would also have a part there in reviewing public comments and recommendations to the Finance Committee. And then we would move into a recommendation from, based on all of this feedback from the authority to move forward with some type of a bond program. Again, these are all just hypothetical examples, but we wanted to kind of map out what a process might look like involving all of the different committees. That is the extent of the task authority matrix. That was very quick, and I know we have a couple folks that are here representing the TAC or the Finance Committee. Any other comments or questions? I'd be happy to take those. As I said, for those that were not able to see the report, we can send out the PowerPoint following the meeting so that everyone has it in front of them.
Any questions for Mr. Parsons on
Mr. Chairman, this is Neil Spoonhour from Gutu County, if I could, please.
Yes.
Mr. Parsons, thank you for that presentation. Can you just clarify for me the scope of this decision-making process? As I understand it, the revenues received by the CVTA are split into 3 buckets: the locality, the region, and then for mass transit. Is the scope of what you're talking about just for decisions regarding the regional funding, or is it broader than that?
Yes, sir. Generally, the scope is for the regional funding. When there are expenditures that the authority itself is going to make, that would only be from that 35% regional pot. We can see some cases where this type of process would work for policy changes or other types of actions that the authority may want to consider. But for the most part, the financial considerations are just going to be for that 35%.
Okay, great. And then just a quick follow-up, and we may table this for later, but now that we've alerted the localities to the distribution amounts, which thank you very much for doing that. It's fantastic. As we're all going through our budgets, the natural question is, what's the process for the localities to be able to utilize those funds? Is there going to be guidance coming out surrounding that?
Yes, I believe so. And I think when the Finance Committee makes its report this morning, there may be some more clarification on that at that point.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. Anyone else? Any questions? Any other committee members? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next part of the staff report, I'm sharing my screen again. I wanted to bring to everyone's attention the introduction of House Bill 1926. I do see that Delegate McQuinn is with us, so I don't want to don't want to step on anyone's toes. If she would like to provide this update, since it's her bill, but it does impact the authority. I'd be happy to provide the overview if that's preferable.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Parson, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Delegate.
You're welcome.
So this is an introduction. It's a bill to amend the Code of Virginia relating to the Central Virginia Transportation Authority, and it's specifically dealing with membership. As it stands now, the authority has 16 members, including the CA. I'll just go through this briefly. The chief elected officer of the governing body of each of the counties, the chief elected officer of the city of Richmond and the town of Ashland, one member of the House of Delegates, one member of the Senate, a member of the Commonwealth Transportation Board, and 4 persons serving as ex officio members representing the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, the CEO of the Greater Richmond Transit Company, the Chief Executive Officer of the Richmond Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and the Commissioner of Highways or his designee. This bill would add an additional ex officio member to be named as the Executive Director of the Virginia Port Authority as a 5th ex officio member to the CVTA. So that would add, essentially that would add one more member representing the Virginia Port Authority to make the total authority membership 17 members rather than 16. So that's just for the authority's information. And we are looking at other types of actions with the General Assembly this year, and we'll certainly provide other updates as needed. And we are not, we don't have anybody working the Assembly this year. So if any of our members have other information that you would like to share with the authority, please send that to me or to Martha, and we will make sure that information gets exchanged with the full authority.
From any members, are there any questions, Mr. Parson, on HB 1926? Okay, if not, we move on to, and Mr. Parson, that was for information, right?
Yes, sir.
We move now to D6, the CVTA Finance Committee update.
Mr. Chairman, Canova Peterson here. Unfortunately, I am filling in today for Mayor Stoney. And I hope he's doing well. If he is able to be watching this, I can only say for all of us, get well soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to report on his behalf the work of the Finance Committee as Vice Chairman. And as he normally does, he expresses his appreciation for being in the position he is with the Finance Committee and serving the region. I too am very honored to be here working with all of you. As Chairman often uses, this august assembly, to be part of it is quite an honor. And I'm very honored to be here. But with that, the Finance Committee has been working very hard, and all of the Finance Committee is here today except for Mayor Stoney. Carlos Brown, CTB members on the committee, my other committee members, Vice Chairman Kevin Carroll from Chesterfield County, and the Chairman of the CVTA, Frank Thornton, also on the Finance Committee. But the good news that we're going to start off with is the fiscal agent agreement are pretty much in place. The fiscal agent agreement for banking services and financial advisory services are up and running through Chesterfield County, and we have a bank account is open. So it's going to be very quickly that funds are actually going to be moving out to the jurisdictions and out of the CVTA account. I know all of us have been looking forward to that big step in the birthing of this organization. With that, we've also have, as part of that, the verification emails. I know were coming in at the time we had our meeting. They were not all in at the time. Ms. Parsons, are they in? Have they all arrived now?
I think we may still be waiting on one or two.
Okay, because those are necessary as we get the distribution out to the jurisdictions. But basically, we're pretty much up and running on that account. The fiscal agent agreement for financial management and auditing services is now in the process of final revisions. That is going through the city of Richmond. We thank both Richmond and Chesterfield for working with the CVTA in these aspects. Once the committee has seized the final revisions that are being suggested and approved it, we'll be bringing it back to this full authority. And we expect to do that at our February 26th meeting, subject to us approving that schedule today. In addition to that, we've also been looking at financial policies and procedures, and they're being reviewed by staff, and a few revisions are yet to be worked out on that, but we're also expecting to have that back at the February 26th meeting as well for the consideration of the full authority. Support services, memorandum of understanding with Plan RVA. We've been working with that. We've brought to that. That's on our agenda here later this morning. And the Finance Committee has reviewed that, unanimously approved, recommending it to the full authority for approval to use the services of Plan RVA for 2021. After that, we've got the Transit Service Governance Report. This is required as part of the legislation forming the CVTA, and with review from our TAC and the finance work group, what have you, we have reviewed the funding for the consultants to make this report happen in accordance with the requirements of the legislation. There have been RFP proposals have been submitted, and the funds for handling that have been reviewed by the Finance Committee, and we will be recommending, again, unanimously on the part of the members of the Finance Committee, that the transfer of funds be made in the amount of $80,000 from the contingency fund to the contracted services other. And with that, I believe that's all we've got today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, are there any questions from Mr. Peterson on items A, B, or C, anyone? No questions? Okay, and I think that Mr. Parsons, that this is the action needed, each of these B and C, committee has to vote on these. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
All right. So, do I have a motion for 6B, a motion to approve the support services MOU with Plan RVA for fiscal year 2021 and authorize the chairman to execute?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Carlos Brown. I believe that because it was approved by the Finance Committee, it doesn't require a motion. It comes to the body as an action from the committee. So I think it's to go to a vote.
Well, did you say that so rapidly?
I'm sorry, because this comes from the standing committee, it doesn't require a move or a second. I think it's just ready to go to a vote.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Ms. Parsons, is this, do we have a roll call vote on this though?
Yes, sir. That's my recommendation.
Okay. Okay. If there are no other questions, then we'll go for a roll call vote on 6B.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Town of Ashland, Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Vice Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Hanover County, Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Henrico County, Chair Thornton.
Aye.
New Kent County, Ms. Page.
Aye.
Powhatan County, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
City of Richmond,
Aye.
Dr. Newbill.
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn.
Aye.
Senator McClellan.
Aye.
And CTB, Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for item number 6B.
Item 6B has been done. Okay, now we go to item 6C. Okay, are there any questions on that from any members? Okay, Mr. Brown, is that also true for this one? Don't have to have a second.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. If there are no questions on this, we have the clerk to have a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The authority will now be voting on item B6C, the Transit Service Governance Report, appropriation of funds. Town of Ashland, Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Vice Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Hanover County, Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Henrico County, Chair Thornton.
Aye.
New Kent County, Ms. Page.
Aye.
Powhatan County, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Dr. Newbill.
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn.
Aye.
Senator McClellan.
Aye.
And CTB, Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for item B6C.
Okay, thank you very much. 6 has been approved. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would be remiss as part of the Finance Committee if I didn't recognize all the folks that really did all the heavy lifting for us on that committee. And that would be the folks of Plan RVA and all the staff of our jurisdictions that have been working in the workforces and that have helped us so much. If we couldn't have done it without them, and I think we need to give them a virtual hand or whatever we have for all the work that they've done to get us this far.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson, for those kind words. We can't ever give enough kindness to our staff who help us tremendously. Okay, now we go to B7. You?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to tag team the Technical Advisory Committee update with Chet because there is an action item on the agenda, as well as mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, there is a additional item we wish to cover regarding the regional transit plan, which is done in collaboration with the Plan RVA TPO Technical Advisory Committee. So as Mr. Peterson stated during the Finance Committee update, where in which both the Finance Committee and the CVTA approved the appropriation of funds for the Transit Service Governance Report. The purpose of the report is covered under the legislation where there's a requirement to evaluate the governance structure of transit in the Richmond region and the establishment of a transportation district. The purpose of the study is to determine if there are policies and processes in place to ensure accountability for the proper spending of CVTA regional transit funds and to identify options to guarantee accountability. So the CVTA approved at the December 4th meeting the scope of work for the report and authorized staff to solicit proposals for service. The bench consultants for the Department of Rail and Public Transportation were all offered the opportunity to submit proposals. 2 proposals were received and reviewed by a subcommittee of the Technical Advisory Committee that consisted of representatives from the City of Richmond, from Chesterfield County, from Hanover County, Henrico County. We had Town of Ashland join us for part of the review, and GRTC, CVTA staff, and Department of Rail and Public Transportation. transportation. The proposals were reviewed, and the recommended firm to be selected is AECOM and the ENO Center for Transportation. That was the recommendation of the subcommittee that did go to TAC for concurrence and approval and recommendation to the CVTA. So I will turn it over to Chet for the resolution.
Yeah, thank you very much. The resolution is on your screen. The requested action, as Todd mentioned, is for the approval of the contract and services as proposed by AECOM and the ENO Center to develop a regional transit service governance report for delivery to the Governor and General Assembly of Virginia. And the resolution is presented for consideration is that the Central Virginia Transportation Authority approves the contract and services as proposed for delivery to the Governor and General Assembly of Virginia.
Are there any questions from members? Chair would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Kevin Carroll, make the motion to approve.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Okay, at this time we have a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Town of Ashland, Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Vice Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Hanover County, Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Henrico County, Chair Thornton.
Aye.
New Kent County, Ms. Page.
Aye.
Powhatan County, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Dr. Newbill.
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn.
Aye.
Senator McClellan.
Aye.
And CTB, Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for item 7A.
Thank you so very much. Okay. At this time, now we go to new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Peterson here. I just became aware that Mr. Harris from Chesterfield is available to the authority to provide a little more insight into revenue transfers and distributions to localities. If it is the pleasure of the authority, I understand we can have him join us through Mr. Carroll's line.
That's fine with me.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, sir. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. We do have, as of middle part of this week, we got confirmation from all 9 jurisdictions on the November amounts, confirmation of those. I think that confirmation process itself has been ironed out and seems to be working very well. So we should have that dispersed first part of next week, and then we will immediately turn to the December distribution, which we have just received this week as well from VDOT. So now that the process is ironed out, we should get potentially 2 checks out next week. Certainly by middle of the month, the first 2 checks will be in accounts, and certainly give thanks to, as has been done on here already, to all of my peers who've been working very hard to iron that out. There's also an effort to work with, and I know a number of localities that are working on this, to work directly with DMV to get some better insights on the wholesale fuels piece so that it's easier for us to verify the amounts that come in on that side. I think it's a little bit of a bigger blind spot for all 9 of us collectively. The sales tax piece is pretty easy to get our arms around and verify, but the wholesale fuels is not something we have a whole lot of experience with, but DMV is being a good partner. And so we should get some clarification on what we're able to get from them in terms of sort of more of the raw data that should allow that to move very quickly. So all that is going quite well, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Okay, if not, Mr. Ewell, did you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as Chet mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we did want to cover under the Technical Advisory Committee update, a brief update on the regional transit plan. So I will let Chet cover that.
Thank you, Mr. Ure. Yes, just a brief update. As Mr. Ure mentioned, the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization has a public transportation work group. That work group is serving as a steering committee for GRTC's development of their regional public transportation plan. That is one of the things that the authority is required to consider in its first year, and that planning process I can report is well underway, and it's being done very professionally. Last week there were, I believe, 4 days where many of the technical staff from around the region gathered for a transit design workshop with Jarrett Walker and Associates and others. And that was a very, very successful workshop. There was an excellent summary presentation that was provided to the GRTC board, and I'd be happy to forward that with GRTC's permission to each member of the authority. That kind of gives an overview of what that process entailed. Just brief numbers. GRTC is choosing to hold their CVTA funding in FY21 so that it can combine it and potentially receive more bang for the buck starting in FY22. That surplus with other funds would roughly equal $10 million over fiscal year 22 through 24 to expand service. And that equates to roughly 93 hours of revenue hours, or 93,000 revenue hours of service. So the task at hand is to look at those totals and define regionally fundable service, what that would qualify as, and then determine a fair way to distribute that service around the region, so that it does serve the purposes of the authority, as well as GRTC's goals and the region's goals. So there was detailed discussion of ridership versus coverage, and how a transit system might be conceived that would make best use of those funds and provide the best service to the region. So that's just a brief overview. And as I said, I'd be happy to forward that full presentation to authority members following the meeting today.
Any question from Mr. Parsons? Okay, all right, that takes care of committee reports. New business.
Mr. Chair, this is Chet Parsons. There was one other update from the technical committee, if I can. I did want to share that yesterday the advisory committee for the RRTPO long range plan met and had a great meeting discussing the prioritization process that the TPO is considering for prioritizing projects in our long range planning process. As I have shared previously with this board, the prioritization process that we are looking at is hopeful to provide some insight into priorities for the CVTA to consider as well. So I wanted to share that process is moving forward, and we are making great strides. It's a huge improvement over the previous prioritization tools that have been developed in the region, and we are scheduling some time on the CVTA TAC agenda in February. I believe it's February 8th, to discuss that prioritization process and how it might apply to the CVTA. So I just wanted to provide that update that we are moving forward with prioritization.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Parsons on that?
Mr. Chairman, John Hodges, I had a question.
Yes, Mr. Hodges.
And I appreciate Mr. Parsons commenting on that, because that was going to be a question that I would have otherwise. but it's more of a comment than a question. I hope that the committee will consider set aside regional funds, that is funds, to Mr. Spoonhour's point, dedicated to the region. Hopefully there'll be a set aside for connectivity and pedestrian projects like the Fall Line Trail, which apparently don't rate very well under SMART scale funding, and should hopefully regional projects addressing pedestrians and trails should hopefully be addressed through this group. So it's more of a comment than a question. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Other members? Okay, all right. We go to C8, the adoption of 2021 schedule for regular authority meeting dates. And that's on your page 40, if you, or 41 really, if you have that. Those dates are today, Friday, then we have February the 26th, March the 26th, April 30th, Friday, May the 28th, and June the 25th. All those at 8:30 a.m. And if there's no change to go to in-person meeting, that may happen also. Okay. Any committee members, any questions on the schedule for the year 2021? If not,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Senator McClellan here. Am I correct that even if we do move to in-person meetings, that there will still be an option to participate virtually?
Senator McClellan, this is Martha Heater. The answer to that would be yes, to the extent that we're able under the provisions for virtual meetings. I think the General Assembly is taking up that issue with the FOIA Council this session, and we're watching that very closely with Eric Gregory, legal counsel. So to the extent possible, I think we would continue to provide a virtual option for authority members, but it will be dependent on what's permissible.
Okay. And just to clarify, I mean, just to warn everybody, Friday, February 26th will likely be the day before the last day of a special session. And so Delegate McQuinn and our availability will be subject to our session schedule.
Thank you, Senator McClellan, for that information. Other comments from other members?
Chairman, I'll move for approval.
I'll second, Mr. Chair. Cynthia Newbell.
All right, roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Town of Ashland, Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Vice Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Spoonhour.
Aye.
Hanover County, Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Henrico County, Chair Thornton.
Aye.
New Kent County, Ms. Page.
Aye.
Powhatan County, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Dr. Newbill.
Aye.
Delegate McQuinn.
Aye.
Senator McClellan.
Aye.
And CTP, Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for item C8.
Thank you. As we go down to D, other business. Now, here's a moment for the most auspicious members of auspicious organization. And that is you members of the CVTA. Any comments from any CVTA members at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
Cynthia Newbell. I don't have a comment as much as a question at this moment. I was wondering, as we looked at ex officio membership, whether or not we had entertained the airport as possible ex officio member.
Excellent question. I'm not sure. We can find it out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Other members, any comments? This is your time. Well, thank you so very much.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Patricia Page from New Kent County. I just want this committee to know that with the results of this year's smart scale round with I-64 widening, falling from 13th to 167 in the smart scale, that we are full of hope and support of the Central Virginia Transportation Authority and efforts to get this project through New Kent completed. So I just wanted you to know that the Board of Supervisors and the administrative staff stand 100% in support of this organization. Thank you, sir.
Comments? Anyone else?
Ms. Thornton? David Williams, Powhatan County. You've been very laudatory about members' efforts, about other folks making this authority what we hope it to be in the future. But I think we need to recognize your leadership. This has gone far smoother than I ever envisioned in terms of our progress that we've made, and that starts at the top. So I want to thank you for your leadership and everything you've done to facilitate us. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you for those comments.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Dolores McQuinn, I stand in agreement with that. Thank you for your leadership. And we also want to, while we're here, just, and it has been mentioned earlier, but we want to certainly send, again, special wishes and blessings to Mayor Stoney as he recover from this, again, from this particular virus. And I want to say to everyone else to please be safe and in the midst of all of this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ditto Dr. McQuinn's message there. We wish Mayor Stoney a quick recovery, and let's all for the stellar effort is keeping it safe. Okay?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes, I will thank you all for your conveyance of well wishes and speedy recovery for the mayor. I will certainly convey your sentiments to him.
Thank you so much. Okay, at this time, there are no other statements. Our next meeting is February the 26th. Okay, all right. This meeting is hereby adjourned, and keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.